Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to begin. We're about to begin our next session right here on the stage, day number 2, and in fact, not just day number 2, but in fact our very last session. Now, before you went for a coffee break, I said to you, you're going to need the coffee. Very, very true, because what's about to happen right now is a panel discussion, conversation. Something's going to unfold that definitely we haven't actually seen before at all. And the people that are going to be here on the stage as well, very, very first time they're actually meeting each other as well. I'm sure you're intrigued. I'm sure you'd like to know exactly what's going to happen next. Let's have a look and see exactly what's about to unfold. That's right, it's the meeting of the Titans. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, well, who are these Titans? Who on earth are these Titans? Well, very, very simply, it's the 3 CEOs of the 3 telecom operators right here in Jordan. They're coming face to face. The gloves are literally off, and we're going to find out exactly how this conversation is about to unfold. We will also naturally need your help as well if you have a question, which I'm sure you will have, something you're curious about, or you just want to throw a punch yourself. You can do that in terms of a question. Ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman who is going to shape this conversation moving forward, please put your hands together for a man. He's going to tell you a little bit about what he does and his background. Please put your hands together for Mr. Michael Motta.
Okay, hello. So today, I don't know how to follow that video. It certainly was awesome. And anyway, so let's invite all the panel participants in up to sit down. We have a distinguished crew here today, so if we could come, Teddy and Zaid, hello, is anybody? I can't be the panel too. Here we go. Sorry. Yeah. Someone has to start. We're starting. Okay. Great. So they call me a panel moderator. So the English meaning of the word moderator is someone who moderates a discussion, who calms things down, who smooths things over. Let me just say that that's not what I see my job being today. We're going to have some interesting discussion with a distinguished panel. We're going to get to the bottom of some things having to do with, in particular, what value the operators provide you guys who are the subscribers, who need these connectivity and services that are provided. And so we have here, let's start at this end. We have Ziad Shatara, and he's the CEO of Umnia for more than 20 years in telco. And that is an accomplishment, I know, myself. To be alive and productive after 20 years in the telecommunications business is a challenge. You joined Umnia in 2015, and previous to that you were in Bangladesh at Bangalink and Wind, CTO at Wind. Mr. Ziad has a bachelor and master's degree in electrical engineering, and you're on the board of Intaj, our great sponsor of this, one of the sponsors of this event. Thank you, Nidal, wherever you are, and on Endeavor in the Jordan Strategy Forum. So here we have Thierry Marigny, CEO of Orange since earlier in 2008, I think. You were working and had good success in Tunisia, CEO of Orange in Tunisia, and Sonatel in Senegal. You were CEO of a private company as well, right? Delivering over-the-top services, maybe? Okay, so having that perspective of somebody who is now an operator, who's delivered previously over-the-top services is going to be very helpful to us. We're very happy to have His Excellency Dr. Ghazi Al Jabour, who is chairman of the Board of Commissioners and CEO of the Telecom Regulatory Commission. His illustrious career in public service as Director of Special Communications Commission in Jordan, service in the Royal Jordanian Air Force, Dean of Prince Faisal Technical Engineering School as well, focused on signal intelligence and spectrum monitoring, which we'll talk about later, certainly spectrum. After all of that, a PhD, you had some time to get a PhD in business administration and some master's work in electronics engineering and radar. Okay, we have Mr. Fahad Al-Jassim, recent CEO of Zain, 20 years experience in operating companies in Kuwait and in Africa with Celtel. You have an EE degree from California State University, Fullerton, which is a really good school, and an MBA as well. So you're a dangerous fellow, having a technical side and a business side all together. Great, so give a warm welcome. Okay, good. Good, so as I said earlier, the focus of this panel is going to be the subscriber. There's lots of change in the mobile network. In 2 to 5 years, it's going to look really different from a technical point of view, and businesses that are driving themselves on top of this new technology, like centralized RAN, radio access network, like SDN, which is software developed network, and the radio technology changes. The 5th generation network standards are coming fast down the track, so we have to have some conversation about that. So we're trying to get a technology picture and a business picture and try to combine these things to see how these companies in front of us are going to provide services. Okay, so that's our goal. So let me ask a kind of leading question, maybe to Thierry. We'll start with Thierry. Mr. Thierry. So what are your key challenges that keep you occupied? What are the key things now in light of all this turbulence and this technology change and business adjustment and competition and regulatory pressures? What do you see your big challenges to be?
Thank you very much. So there are many key changes for a mobile and fixed operator. I think maybe the most important thing is to be able to keep the right level of customer experience, end-to-end customer experience, which is not easy when you are in mobile technology, in fixed and fiber technology, and also in financing services. That means when you have millions of customers, that you need to be able to be end-to-end very good at every moment of your customer path. It is something difficult that we are really working on, because as you know, the Orange strategy is to bet on better networks and a very good customer experience. And it is something that we are working on a daily basis to be able to reach the right level of customer experience that is possible, because our customers are more and more demanding. As you know, they are comparing ourselves, and they're right with Google, with WhatsApp, with Amazon, or whatever I know. And we need to be at this level. So it is very important that we need to focus on the right level of customer experience. Maybe the second thing is obviously our ability to reach the next level of technology after what we have already done. So, for example, in mobile, we launched 4G Plus, which is a high level of speed, a high level of customer experience. We are also in the fixed network. We launched the FTTH at a very high scale level. That means not only in Amman, but also we are beginning in Irbi, in Aqaba, And we can say that we have already 260,000 households which are connectable, which is very important in terms of speed of coverage. And we are already thinking about the next time. So the next time is the introduction of Internet of Things, and also soon the arrival of 5G. So the issue is to be able to manage to do all this change of scale at the right level for a company which is big but not so big in terms of employees, and to be able, once more, to bring the right level of customer experience.
Cool. Good. Thank you so much. So FTTH, fiber to the home. Maybe the audience with a raise of hands. How many of you have fiber to your home? A significant percentage of people. So, but there's still an opportunity I see here as well for you guys. Okay, that's good. Thank you, Titi. So. Maybe, Mr. Fahad, so there's lots of change. There are these opportunities with IoT, connecting devices to each other, this Internet of Things, for which there was a session earlier today, I think. Fundamental change in the business and in the technology of the network. So what sorts of things do you consider important from the Zain perspective? And how are you going to manage? Are you working towards 5G? What is the 5G, the next fifth generation radio standards and opportunities with 5G? Tell us a little about what your strategic thinking is on these issues.
So 5G is important, and obviously there will be a time where 5G will be in Jordan. That exact date, I think, we've not yet set. And as an industry, is changing a lot.
Yes.
Yes. It's become quite complicated.
Yes.
And the customer has many options. And as an operator, I think it's important for us to bring the best quality of IoT to the customer, making it available for the customer, giving the best experience of IoT to the customer. Making it reliable. I think that's what we strive for.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what particular actions or strategies do you put into place in order to handle the Internet of Things, connecting devices? What questions possibly do you have for His Excellency here about regulatory control over the IoT stuff? Maybe you could address the questions.
I think so far I've not seen any regulatory issues with IoT. How we make it ready? We invest in infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yes. We make the best possible network available for IoT to be there.
Yeah. So IoT connecting to millions, billions of devices to each other.
It's a big job.
Yeah. So it's a big job, and it needs cooperation on all fronts here. So 5G is a strategy for you, Mr. Ziad?
Well, let's talk about 5G in more details and try to understand why is 5G a new standard that is really required, because it's important to know this before we say we want to do it, we don't want to do it, the market is ready for it or not. And the three pillars of 5G standards that are not ready yet, to be clear, are first, higher bandwidth, okay? Second is ultra low latency for and supporting massive machine-to-machine communications. So if we look at the three pillars, when we look at the later two, or the first one, the higher bandwidth, everyone will be benefiting from this. There will be lower cost of per megabit to the consumer, and for us to build networks that are more efficient. And that would be very useful for us as operators and also for the customers. So from that perspective, from the first use case, 5G is an added value to the operators and to the consumer in Jordan today. However, when we look at the later two applications, we need an ecosystem, okay, that can create or use this technology. We as operators, we will be the enablers for such for the evolution of such applications, be it the machine-to-machine or the applications that need ultra-low latencies. To be brief, yes, from Ummia point of view, what we're looking at, we see since the first application is the higher bandwidth and more efficient network, from an infrastructure point of view, we see the home broadband is a good application for 5G or massive MIMO or even the pre-5G. However, the later two, which depend more on the mobile subscribers, we think that the ecosystem has to be built, and we have to make sure that there is enough ecosystem around these two pillars for 5G before we start investing in 5G. As you know, such investments are going to be really big in terms of spectrum and infrastructure, and as such, we have to look at these things before we make these investments.
Could perhaps His Excellency can comment about the regulatory framework. There's new radios, there's new spectrum associated with 5G. Maybe you can make a quick comment about that, about how you're treating this and how quickly we can move forward to put the stuff in these guys' hands, the spectrum.
Let me start by saying good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here to share with us your views for the future. Actually, there are three things in life that people hate: taxation, death, and regulation. Now, the third one, myself and my colleagues, we try to make it as easy as possible. Our problem is more difficult than the operators. We are in a situation where we have to please the operators and please the people, the public. And sometimes this is quite a challenge, which is you need to fight the operators to please the public, and the expectation of the Jordanian public has been raised by many steps, because they believe that the government should do everything for them. The government should fight with the operators. We cannot fight with the operators. We have to be friendly with the operators. We have to do things in a smooth way. Regarding 5G, we are ahead of time by working on the most important dimensions of the 5G era, which are spectrum, numbering plan. We consider IoT to be the platform for IoT, the 5G to be the platform for IoT, so that we already worked with our stakeholders. We sent out green papers. We consulted with them regarding our numbering plan. We have reached a conclusion regarding this. Regarding the spectrum, as Mr. Shatara said, it's going to be a large investment. So unfortunately, that's the case, because it's going to need large investment, because the spectrum needed for 5G is going to be hundreds of megahertz for the three operators. As you know, there is no 5G step over in a glance. It's going to be like a hybrid solution between 4G and 5G. You're not going to have 5G in a day. You're going to switch all the legacy systems and have 5G in a single day. But it's going to be like a hybrid solution. We're trying to work with everybody, including the Arab regulators, because TRC is a member of the ARGNet, which is the Arab Regulators Network, because we have a group out of that regulators network. It's called Arab Spectrum Management Group. This is the group that goes and fights with the ITU, in addition to the member states, and says, we Arabs in the Arab region, we need this spectrum to be used for the 5G or a 5G or whatever generation there is. So we need to work with everybody to make it as easy as possible to get to the stage where at least the business, the regulatory environment, the business environment is ready for 5G. Regarding our relation with the operator has been friendly, collaborative. We talk to each other, we meet often, and we try to make it as friendly as it can be. You cannot please people all the time because you have, unfortunately, the regulator has to make decisions. Sometimes decisions are liked by some and hated by others, but we try to make that as easy as possible and try to make decisions that takes all interests into consideration.
This is good. Thank you so much. With regard to 5G or other issues, do you have any questions for His Excellency with regard to what could happen quicker, how you could make your business move faster, et cetera, with the regulatory framework that's in place? Thierry, you want to comment on that?
I don't know if it's a question. His Excellency knows very well the file because we are talking together about this one as the other file. What is sure, and maybe it is important to understand, is I think the free operators are in a strong phases of investment for some years now. 4G, 4G plus, fiber. And to bring fiber everywhere in the country, it's a big investment. As for Orange, I think since 2015 we invested more than 300 million JOD, let's say, for frequencies and also for technical reasons in the network to upgrade the network. So, as Ziad was saying, it's 5G is very important. We know how it will bring us for, let's say, digital traffic, which is already huge in Jordan. But in the same time, we need to find the way in terms of investment, because it's investment in the network, and I hope not a lot in the frequencies, but maybe also a little bit in the frequencies. So we need to find a way to balance all this investment with return on investment, which is not at the moment wonderful in the country for I think the free operators. Yes. So it's something very touchy for us. The how, and how we will be able to find the best solution with Excellency and also with the other parties to find the best way to bring such a technology in the country in more or less not before 2020, because obviously I see in Orange France they are thinking about a pre-commercial 2019, maybe a launch 2020, 2021. Mm-hmm. It's also a question of chips, it's a question of devices, and it's a question of available frequencies. So everything is not ready yet.
So that's a great point. Maybe Mr. Ziad could help us out. 4G advanced megabit LTE is available in the market, right? You've deployed this. That gives you some breathing room before you have to deploy 5G. Is that true? Or tell me what you think about the balancing between investment in the new 5G and the 4G megabit.
Unfortunately, whenever we talk new technologies that would give better user experience, higher speed, higher capacity, the spectrum is at the core of it. Even when we talk massive MIMO, mm-hmm. which is the pre-5G standard, or let's say technology that can be...
So massive MIMO is many antennas at the transmitter, yes. and at the receiver.
I mean, even when we talk about this technology, we need higher spectrum in order to apply and offer these technologies, even before going to the 5G. My suggestion here, I mean, if you allow me, since we started talking about the three pillars of 5G, and we start with the user experience.
Yes.
There is a really obvious application or need for 5G or pre-5G in the home broadband if we park a bit the fiber as an alternative solution for 5G, or for those areas that we don't have fiber reaching that. Then massive MIMO and pre-5G technologies can be applied for those areas and for those solutions. And I believe the main application for that is mainly home broadband and home-based consumption of broadband. And for that, there is spectrum that can be made available to the operators in different bands. Mainly, I mean, we're talking about the 3500 band that can help the operators offer pre-5 technologies and really reutilize this band when the 5G comes.
So you'll continue to invest in 4G in parallel to deploying any new radio and new technology.
It only makes sense. It only makes sense to do that, to continue to invest in 4G and offer better services.
Good. Okay, so His Excellency, maybe tell us a little. So I come from America. I may have a distorted view because of that. But in America, it's very important. The regulator, the FCC, takes how would you say, a big focus on getting connectivity into the countryside. So could you tell us about how Jordan views that and the obligations and the benefits accorded to the three gentlemen next to you? How does that work in Jordan?
Actually, within the license terms, there are conditions where you need to provide services for a certain number of people living in a certain area.
Yeah.
But we established some competition regime between the operators, and 2 years back we had what we call Quality of Service Performance Excellence Awards, where we had the three operators competing in three regions: the northern part of Jordan, the middle part, and the southern part. The idea was behind this award is to stimulate competition. So they are obliged by their license term to provide service for a certain number of inhabitants in a certain area. That's one. Also, we handle customer complaints and talk to the operators when there is a complaint for coverage. We always encourage operators to cover more. I believe we have an incentive plan that I'm working on with the government to ease the financial burden on the operators regarding the present systems and the acquisition of more spectrum. With this plan, I have in mind to include better coverage for rural areas where people need coverage without actually getting return on investment, high return on investment. So I'm helping the operators. At the same time, I need their help to make Jordanians more pleasant.
So, Mr. Fahad, how do you see that collaboration going on to get your company to invest in providing connectivity to people in the countryside, which is expensive, and also the balance? Are you familiar with the proposal?
Obviously, we invest. Yes. The collaboration with the government. Yes, we do make the investment to cover all of Jordan, and every person of the population should have access to connectivity. There are things that we do that we don't look for returns on, such as that. Yeah.
Okay. So, any questions, Tiri, for His Excellency?
Maybe the TRC can give us 5G spectrum for free. That would help. It's a good suggestion.
Good question.
If it was up to me, I would give it to you today. But it's not my decision. It's above me. I cannot make this decision, unfortunately.
If you allow me, I mean, okay. But if you allow me, I don't want maybe Fahad was joking, but there is a sense behind what he's saying, okay? In 5G, we are not going to offer an infrastructure that is for the consumer to download Facebook we are talking about economy enablement for the next generation industries, okay? Be it startups, be it, even the business model of an operator will not be a B2C. It will change from a B to B to C.
Yes.
And this means that we have to have intermediate businesses between us and the consumer that will work, okay? And as such, startups, companies, businesses will start in the country, and as such, our role is to enable them. The infrastructure, you know very well that when we talk about 5G infrastructure investments, we're talking about maybe throwing what we have and bringing something new, okay? And this means a huge investment for us. And the spectrum is, the bandwidth that is required is very big. For all of this to happen, we are talking about enabling economy of the country, okay? And we would like really the government to start looking at us as an enabler to the economy rather than a sole source of income by selling spectrum. And we do believe that this thinking is there in the TRC today. However, the country is going through, squeeze times. We're all squeezed, we understand that. However, for us to go out of this situation, we need to create jobs. And I believe the opportunity of 5G is not operators' opportunity, rather a country opportunity.
Yes. So we didn't coordinate about this before, but that's a perfect segue to the next kind of phase of the discussion. All of the three companies here are investing very significantly in the startup ecosystem, which word I don't particularly like, but anyway, in the startup ecosystem, right? In helping new companies helping to build new companies. So tell us, and I think you touched on exactly the issue that's one of the core things and core rationale for doing that, for making those expenditures. It's also doing good and helping, young people start new companies, but it's also building the next set of entrepreneurs that are going to build on top of your networks and add value. Maybe, Mr. Fahad, maybe you could talk about your investments in cultivating the startup community and what that means for your business.
Well, so yes, we've made some investments in startup. I think most people are aware of Zinc as one of them, and a few other platforms that enable new entrepreneurs to start their businesses. And yes, it's important for operators to be part of the economy. Mm-hmm. It's not the only investment that we do, but it is part of our investments, and it's important for the economy to have young entrepreneurs bring their ideas and make them a part of what we do. Yes. And actually, over I think the last 3 years, we've had some entrepreneurs that have created services from scratch that we actually use. Yeah. So we'd like to continue.
And it's good for the business too, which is my point.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Tiri, you're investing significantly in the startup and the innovation space, right? So tell us about, and there is this other problem that has to be addressed: creating new services to drive new revenue, to compete with the over-the-top guys. One of the good ways to do that, as Mr. Ziad said, is to create the over-the-top guys who are actually using your services. So what do you think about the value to your company? Again, I asked a similar question, to cultivating this. Other than doing good, it's important to get the culture developed and to get mentors in place and to get a space and spaces for people to do work. But beyond that, for the business, from the business perspective, maybe you could comment about your investment in...
I think we used to have a kind of system which were more or less a customer to provide a system between operators and many companies, including startups, which was not good at all. So what we are trying to do at Orange for years now is really to be at the same table than the startups and to try to build this ecosystem and to understand how they work, because we think that if the plate is bigger, we will benefit from it at one moment or another. So at Orange, we are trying to be at each level of the story as a fund, because we have Orange Digital Venture, which is a fund I think which is around 200 million euro. We are also at let's say regional levels, and we have different programs such as Orange Fabs that are in every country trying to help some selected startups, trying to bring them from a certain level to another one, which several programs in France, in Europe, and in Middle East too. And we have here the big program, which is a program with, I think maybe it's Echo, which several startups that we are pushing, helping, or the whole company is trying to find some solution and some means for them to be better. So there are many things to push the local startups up. We really think that we will benefit from the ecosystem if we can manage to build a company that will use our API and we have an open policy around our various API of our network and of our services on the long run. So it is
Orange as a platform.
Yes, Orange as a platform, exactly. And it is something that we are betting a lot on in the last years and really on the next years. And so we have opened many APIs and we will continue to do it. And we will continue the work with startups to maybe create some of the OTTs that have been said in the last minutes. But without talking about OTTs, we can also talk about some verticals in B2B and even on B2C that we are betting on, because we can't be everywhere. Yes. It's something that we discovered some years ago. We can't be everywhere, even if we are big. But we are not big enough, so we have to find the right partnerships with startups and with other big companies to be able to be at the right moment, at the right place.
Good, good. So, Mr. Ziad, do you want to comment about that, on what, on the startup ecosystem and creating fresh talent and fresh companies, other than doing good for the youth and helping build up a startup culture and a success culture and making new companies? What, from the business point of view, can you tell us about your investment?
Well, it happened many times that many startups came to the tank. They started, they came up with ideas that we applied and we partnered up with, and we gave them business, and they have now products and that they can sell to the in the market today. So as far as I'm concerned, looking at the tank as an opportunity for us, it's basically screening what makes sense for us to offer to our consumers, and for them to start building the layer of the business that we have to subcontract or work with in order to reach and service our consumers. Today we have a number of companies that are serving us that started in our in the tank. And we see this as a big opportunity. The next thing that we are doing as a group, which is, as you know, we're part of Batelco Group. We have a venture, just like Orange has, that we are investing in the startups, and we're giving them seed money, and not seed money, but rather investments in order to accelerate growth. We open the door for these startups to interface with a fund that is as big as $100 million in Bahrain.
Yes, good. So I'm sure in the audience there must be some people in the trying to start up companies, struggling for help in making that happen. Does anybody in the audience have any questions for these gentlemen here with regard to this issue of startups? What do you need from these companies to help you launch your idea into a successful platform? Anybody want to comment? Sure. Can someone bring this guy a microphone, please? Where?
حسن الكسواني مشروع برمجتي لتعليم الطلاب برمجة الكمبيوتر في سن مبكرة من سن 8 سنوات إلى 15 سنة إلى الثامن، وسننزل بالسن إلى 5 سنوات كما هو عالميا. نطلب من هذه الشركات دعم المبادرات بشكل حقيقي، حيث لدينا مبادرة مع وزارة التربية والتعليم لتعليم 70,000 طالب هذه السنة برمجة الكمبيوتر في هذا السن. الأجهزة في وزارة التربية والتعليم أجهزة الكمبيوتر ضعيفة تحتاج إلى صيانة، وأيضا الإنترنت لا يوجد في كل المدارس. فما هو دوركم؟
الإنترنت موجود ب 2700
صحيح.
So maybe you could help everybody else
ليس كل المدارس.
who's not good
صحيح.
at Arabic like me.
Sorry.
Help us just understand what the question is. And
Yeah. He's talking about the internet, and the opportunity is the education. He's developing a platform to help students to learn programming in Jordan in the schools, and there is an opportunity to teach 70,000 students next year, as I understand. And the requirement is to support in the connectivity for the schools and the computers. Yes. Is this the? Did I translate the question properly? Yes.
هل تستطيعون مساعدتنا في تعليمهم هذا البرنامج؟
As far as I'm concerned, there are twofold. I mean, we as Omnia, I mean, I'm proudly here stating that we have connected 2,700 schools in Jordan with a project that is a paid project, not a CSR project. However, the internet for all the 2,700 schools were provided free of charge to all the schools that were connected in this project. So as far as I'm concerned, 75% of the schools in Jordan are provided with free internet today. The Minister of Education is working with us to cover the 25% in the next phase. And we promise to also provide the rest of the schools free internet to the rest of the 25% of the schools remaining not covered in the first phase. However, when it comes to computers, I think the ball game is in the Ministry of Education court, because today they're using the traditional technologies to deploy PCs in the schools, which we believe is not the right technology. They have to deploy cloud-based virtual desktop, and there we can help much better if they adapt this infrastructure.
great. So while we have the Titans here, does anybody else have something they'd like to comment about with regard to facilitating? We'll take questions later, but facilitating startup companies, building the ecosystem. Here we have.
Good afternoon, Mr. Titans. We provide training on 4G and 5G technologies, and we find it helpful from the operators to use local talent in training their engineers. We did some business with the TRC, His Excellency Dr. Ghazi helped us in this way, but we'd like the operators to use local talent on training. Thanks.
Did you want us to train, or you want to train?
Well, we do the training. we'd like the operators to give us the opportunity to do training for your engineers.
That's great. Yeah.
Well, I know that you rely on big companies like Huawei, and it would be helpful for local startups to use them for training.
I mean, usually operators, when they buy new technologies, training comes with the package. But obviously, I mean, we have training requirements, so please, more than happy.
Thanks.
Judy, any comment?
Yes, yeah, sure. We have exactly what Fahad was saying. You have some things which have to be done by, let's say, our manufacturers, but we are very open and even looking for local training if it's possible. So, especially if it's a question of obviously level of skills, etc. But I'm sure you have already them. So we are very open to see if it's possible.
Any other comments about this topic from the audience? Anybody who wants to make a comment, have a request? We have these gentlemen here now, so now is your time. Anybody? Okay.
Thank you very much for this useful session. We really appreciate it. In Jordan, for example, how citizen can measure and can guarantee that the service, the bandwidth, they got it from the service provider, it is the same what he paid for it, as a quality of service in Jordan here. Thank you.
So that's a broader question. Maybe His Excellency can take a stab at that.
Actually, we measure quality of service and quality of experience. We have changed from looking at technical parameters to the stage where we take the input from the Jordanian citizens, and we did it last time in 2016-17 timeframe. But we always publish quality of service data on our website, so they know what the quality of service there is in their towns. Actually, when we did this for every city in Jordan. So if you wanted to a service, you can always choose the service provider that is best in your town. And the people ask us this question in particular, we'll always give them the right answer. So we have no bias between the operators. If it's Orange, we'll say Orange. If it's Omnia, we'll say Omnia. If it's Zain, we'll say Zain. So we always give the customer the right feedback. Thank you.
However, I really would like to comment here. I mean, whatever user experience, the user, we know that statistics are published, all of these things are published, but are we able to guarantee the service level for everyone at every time? And are we able to tell the customers these questions?
Don't make it hard on yourself.
No, I'm just
guarantee.
trying.
I don't think that you should.
Not
There is no guarantee, but we try to do like an average, overall average. But when you talk about service level agreement, it becomes very hard. Actually, next step, we are going to install probes in high density areas like malls, like for example the airport, where we measure the quality of service all the time, and it's going to be online all the time, and we can see what every operator quality of service is like all the time, every time we look at it. And it's going to be recorded actually in our server.
But
Can we exclude
just to be fair for people to understand, all wireless technologies don't give you cannot guarantee a level of service on any wireless technology. For example, when we operators started in 4G, network is empty, and customers can get a very high quality of bandwidth. But it depends on actually what the customer is using. So for example, if the customer can be using a VoIP service, they could be browsing, they could be viewing a video stream. So before, the conventional ways of testing bandwidth using fast.com or a speed test are no longer let's say, a method of quality. Now it depends on what application a customer is using. To answer your question, it depends. It depends on what you're using. But there really is no real guarantee.
Yeah, so quality of service, thank you for the question. Quality of service is an important thing. Tiri, maybe you want to make a comment about how you measure it and how you maybe can collaborate on the definition of what's to be measured. And
obviously, we are measuring our quality of service. We have different battery of tests, technical tests, end-to-end tests, customer experience tests. As I think Ziad wanted to say, let's say radio is a hard science, but we can't say that at this place, at this moment, the quality will be perfect.
yes.
It's also, as Excellency was saying, a question of average and of number of customers at one moment, especially on the radio side. What we are trying to do is to give the right level of quality at every moment on certain places, at home, in places where we know there are a huge level of people. It's not easy because Amman is changing a lot, so we have it's a network which has its own life, and it's something that's the reason we have many experts in radio system and in building modeling and trying to do their best to bring the best level of service to their customers.
Okay.
Maybe just one last comment. I mean, I want to share this with the audience just as a number. In radio networks, I know it for Umniya and in all the companies I worked for before, 25% of the data traffic happens in 3 hours. Okay, so sizing the network is really a challenge for us. Okay, it's something to be for the consumer to think about.
Yeah. So I learned not too long ago that in the UK at least, there were some measurements taken that during certain hours of the day, 45% of the bandwidth was taken up with Snapchat. In the UK at least. I don't know how we measure these things, but it's a really remarkable thing to do. So everybody in the audience, please prepare your heads for asking broader questions. We'll get to that point in a few minutes. Hold on. Sure.
To comment on Ziad's question, which we overstepped his question.
Yeah.
Talking about this infrastructure, large infrastructure, and the utilization of it and the economy of it. He was talking about, do I need to invest in 5G? And still, Jordan is not really digital till now. I believe you touched on this. And I believe I rightly agree with him that presently, if we keep using this infrastructure for Facebook and Snapchat and social media, this is not the way it's supposed to be. We need to use this infrastructure for our economy. We need to use it in the industry. We need to use it in the educational system. We need to use it in medical services. The system we have is underutilized, actually. And this is one of my questions that I talked about with you, talking about the business model for the operators. Are the operators going to keep their business model as it is today, or are we going to include more services? To answer Ziad's question, this takes two to tango. The government cannot make Jordan digital by itself. Neither the operators can make Jordan digital by themselves. It takes both sides to collaborate. As the English say, you never miss what you have never tried. Operators need to introduce services and go into small niches where they provide this service, and Jordanians utilize this service, a new service. They become used to it, and it becomes part of their daily life. So we need to utilize small niches here and there and to make full utilization of this infrastructure. This is the the trend that we should go for to make sure that 5G is a platform of services rather than a platform for social media and voice and data services. If we keep using infrastructures the way we do now, I tell you, there's no need to go for 5G.
We have to be driven by the customers.
We have to make it an infrastructure for every other business. We have to make it an infrastructure for medical services. People in hospitals need to use it. You need to transfer MRI pictures from Aqaba to Amman. I was heading an organization that we transferred MRI from Aqaba to Amman in 2 seconds in 2010. We need to use this infrastructure for all services. We need to get it in all verticals, whether it's the industry, the education system, universities, hospitals, everywhere. This is the way we make it inviting and appealing for operators to invest.
Great.
Otherwise,
It's a very powerful statement. So how do you make this happen as a regulator?
Well, the government is actually working on making Jordan digital by trying to make it paperless government, paperless hospitals. As I said, it takes us and the operators to work on this. We need operators to get in small niches. For example, provide in a service in a niche where no other operators have provided. And you can grow in this niche and make it a business, right? You cannot have this business model for the future. You need to change. I also ask my colleagues, the operators, to stop the price war so that this system, this sector, this industry.
We only have 6 minutes left. This is a big issue. So,
this industry becomes more revenue driven than competition driven. Thank you very much.
Any comments on stopping the price wars or?
What price war?
Good answer. Excellent answer. Likewise. Okay, we have 5 minutes for broad questions. Please direct the questions. We have a few down here.
This is a question for Your Excellency. You made a very good point about economic development, and Zaid, you did talk about it. So my fundamental question in terms of a long-term view is that would you therefore think about making access to internet a basic human right? That is a conversation happening in the ITU and in many parts of the world. So I believe its time has come for that, but your views would be welcome.
Actually, we have a national program that the Ministry of ICT and us, all the people involved, have a program called Internet for All, which means all Jordanians should have internet. Actually, the penetration of internet in Jordan is more than 100%. So the situation is actually good as of today. I believe what we need to work on is broadband for everybody. That's the benefit, is to work on broadband rather than just internet for all. We need to have broadband for all. So we're working on this. I believe the operators and the government are working hand in hand to improve things.
Okay, good. Any other questions?
Engineer Khattab Umar, President and CEO of America Computer Group. My question addressed to His Excellency Eligible. When you gonna solve the issue of Kareem and Uber and the other taxi? Because Abu Haj Hassan sued the municipal of Amman and he won the case because he paid the municipal of Amman $500,000 JD every year. So when the government gonna solve this issue officially and permitting over Kareem to work officially for the safety of the passenger in their car because they don't have insurance about the passenger?
By the way, there was a legal case in Europe where they classified Uber and Kareem as being a transportation problem rather than an ICT problem. For us, I cannot prevent anybody from using any application. So Kareem is a transportation problem. I believe they already have a license to operate in Jordan. Kareem in particular, they have a license and they are allowed to use their application.
Sure.
It's a very interesting argument. I mean, for us, operators who paid hundreds of millions, not $500,000 or 5 million for the municipalities. We are now being attacked, and we lost 50% of our revenues because of similar applications, and nobody talks about it. Okay.
So do you have any comments about that?
I'm not saying to prevent it.
Yeah.
However, the world is changing to this economy.
If you were in my situation, would you side with these three? Or would you side with all the other? Thank you very much.
I'm not.
Okay.
We're siding with everybody else.
To clarify, I'm not calling to block. Okay, I'm not calling for that. However, if we want to talk about such inequalities, let's tackle the whole problem.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. It sounds like His Excellency is interested in doing that. Maybe you want to comment.
Actually, we encourage our operators to create their own OTTs. And this way, if you have your own OTTs, we can ask Kareem and others to use your OTTs. In the absence of local or national OTTs, you cannot prevent Jordanians from using. It's consumer right, I cannot prevent them. But if you had your own OTTs, then I believe Jordanians are more patriotic than we think, and they will use their national OTTs.
Okay. Yes, but what I think it's something which is very big now in Europe and United States too, but it's the OTT taxation itself which is important. That means today we can't say that WhatsApp is not an operator, for example, or YouTube or whatever. So what the world of the operators is thinking of is, as Ziad was saying, we are paying huge amount of money for licenses, and we think that at one moment this taxation issue has to be, let's say, tackled by any government of any countries, and to see how these huge American companies, very often American, could pay their share too.
I promise not to talk about net neutrality in this issue. We have any other questions?
Yes, please.
Here,
yes.
this gentleman down here.
Yeah, hello.
And then we have, sorry, I'm oriented towards the left-hand side.
Salam, Abdurrahman Habashne. My question is for telecommunication core companies. All of them, they are focused on business enabler and incubators in Amman. And I would like to thank Zain. They are establishing to move. They start business incubator in Karak and Irbid and Zarqa, and they start doing that. Is there any plans to continue that, or to do that by Omnia and Orange, to go please to the cities and support cities, because everything is in Amman is good, and there is big need to get the help in cities like Karak, Tafili, Ma'an. If you establish incubator there and you give the real training for the people in these cities, that will help them. And thank you.
We have launched as an umbrella what we call Orange Digital Centers, which are training centers with some partners in various cities such as Mafra, Tafile, and other. I think we have 15 or 20 of this one. So we are talking about not really incubators but training centers. But your question was about the both. So for incubators, we can think about it too. But as of today, it's not the case. I agree.
Okay, great.
Yes,
now
please.
we have to go over
Yes,
on the
here.
right hand, my
Hello.
right hand side.
Yes,
Yeah.
here.
Oh,
Yes.
Here.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Samir Obeid. I'm from a company called Tracklink. My question to His Excellency and respectful CEOs. do we have a set time to switch off 2G network and GPRS? And if we're going to switch it off, are we going to move to 3G or 4G? Thank you.
Can I start by answering you that there are no 2G licenses or let's say license. From 2014, we have changed the system from classifying services of like 2G, 3G to neutrality license. That means you can use it for data, you can use it for voice, you can use it for whatever you want. So there is no need for switching off any generation because the generations will not be there anymore. Regulator gives spectrum. You can utilize this spectrum whether you want it for 4G services or 2G services or 3G services. This name came because of a technological advancement in the ICT, as you know. But new licenses does not classify service. We give technology neutrality spectrum only. And it's up to the operators to use it for whatever they need. This way we can achieve spectral efficiency whenever spectrum is used. Thank you.
Yeah, please.
Hey, thanks everyone. So my name is Anas, and I've been coming to the Business Spark since I was 14, and last week I graduated. Now I'm 23 and I'm still here. Me and my classmates of my generation, we witnessed at least the growth of the three telecoms, especially Zynq, Big, and the Tank. And my question is regarding to the startup industry. All three of you are investing in it. Is there at least an ROI or a return on investment from the ideas from my generation, from my classmates on the ideas that, for example, Zynq is investing on, or Big or Tank? Have you seen ideas that are actually implementable? I mean, for example, Verizon does that in the US, where they invest in startups and then later on that the technology is implemented and distributed. I wanted to see your feedback on the quality of ideas and startups in our environment. Thank you.
For Zynq, yes, like I said, I think there are at least 4 or 5 ideas that I've seen that we're working with directly or supporting to be monetized. Yes. So as I know, there are 4 or 5 of them. There is a pipeline for more. So to answer that question, yes, some of the startups are now operating, and we're directly using some of them. What was the other one?
If there's a return on investment plan for these startups, I mean the business model of Zynq, Big, and the Big Tank.
For Zynq, we don't do Zynq for a return on investment. We don't look for a return on it.
Mainly, maybe to rephrase my question, it's not in terms of revenue, but more of benefits to maybe the operators and the subscribers.
Well, absolutely, it benefits the operators because we're supporting the economy, and operators, they work within the economy. So yes, and that term, yes, it is. We do want it to be sustainable. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's have the final question from the future here.
I just want to say something about Careem and Uber. I think it is an advantage for the government to give Careem and Uber the license, because we have a serious public transportation problem. So when Careem and Uber came, they solved it. That is my opinion.
Good. So, okay, that's the future speaking. Okay, look. Thank you, everybody. Thank our great panel here. Let's put our hands together for. And thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much. Also our moderator as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how the Titans say goodbye. Cool, calm, they get out the door, the punches start flying. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the very last part of of the MENA ICT Forum 2018. I think you'll agree with me and pretty much most of the people certainly in the room. It's been an eventful, insightful time. Before you go, there's a few things we have to get through. I advise you just to stick around just for a few more minutes, a few more moments before we finish. So here's the thing. Over the last couple of days, lots of different panel discussions, lots of insights, lots of opinions, okay? If you pop onto, not right now, but at some stage, if you go onto the live streaming, onto the MENA ICT Forum Facebook page, you'll see the live streaming. So you can actually go back and relive some of the panel discussions, some of the eventful things that have actually happened here, and some of the quotes and things that you've heard right here. So that's online, so you can do that at any time you wish. But what we're going to do right now, let's have a quick look at what unfolded very quickly over the last 2 days. Ladies and gentlemen, what a wonderful video. And you'll agree with me, credit goes to the guys that put this all together very, very quickly. They've been filming all the way through and edited it and put it all together right at the end for us. One last thing before I go, I do have to say, over these last 2 days, I must have had at least 15 people that have come up to me over by coffee, over by lunch, and speaking to me in Jordanian, thinking I am Jordanian. Thinking I am Jordanian. Now I have to tell you the truth, and I have to be completely honest with you right now about my nationality. I am not Jordanian. However, I have had so much mensef, I have convinced myself I am a Jordanian. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go, just a few last words to wrap up this 2 days, this eventful 2 days here in Amman. Please put your hands together for the chairman, for the current chairman of Intaj, Mr. Bashar Hawamdeh.
يعطيكم العافية. بعرف إنه تعبتوا كثير، هاليومين كانوا شوي فيهم حركة. أنا بصراحة كثير مبسوط إنه اليوم العدد اللي عم نشوفه بيحضر الآي سي تي فورم عدد كثير كبير. اليوم عطلة وكل عام وانتم بخير بمناسبة رأس السنة الهجرية، لكن فعليا العدد الموجود يمكن أنا ما كنت أبدا عندي أي يعني قلق إنه راح يكون هذا العدد موجود وأكبر من هيك، وكنت متأكد إن الكلوزنج سيشن راح يكون عدد الموجودين ممتاز. بشكر كل شخص فيكم حضر هذا المنتدى. احنا بصراحة اتعلمنا كإنتاج إنه نسمع الملاحظات ونحاول نطور
بنفسنا ونحط على حالنا يعني تعهدات أكبر في المستقبل وللمجلس القادم إنه يكون كل سنة في إشي أفضل. الافتتاح كان بالنسبة لنا ممتاز، ويمكن أنا إلي شخصيا وحتى مجلس إدارة إنتاج وعتب يعني على الحكومة إنه المفروض لما جلالة الملك يحكي إنه الوزراء لازم يكونوا بالشارع، أنا بحكي منتدى الاتصالات هو شارعنا، لازم المفروض يكونوا موجودين مش بس عشان الافتتاح بصراحة حلو، بشكرهم إنه أجوا وحضروا وضيعوا وقتهم ساعة زمن، لكن وجودهم ياخذوا النوتس اللي أنا تعلمت منها اليوم كثير المفروض يكونوا موجودين او مندوبين عنهم. يعني اذا بسال سؤال سريع، هل في حدا من الحكومه حاضر اليوم غير يمكن الباشا؟ بعرفش اذا كان بشكل شخصي، اذا حدا بالحكومه يرفع ايده. ولا حدا. عطله. يعني انا للامانه شفت يمكن مثلا وزاره العدل، امانه عمان، يمكن بشكل شخصي حضروا، يعني بيعطينا امل انه فعليا القطاع الخاص ممكن يكون اقرب للقطاع العام. احنا اليوم لما نحكي نوتس مش عشان نسمعها، احنا عارفين كل هاي النوتس وعارفين شو الحلول، شو المشاكل وايش الحلول والتحديات. احنا بنتمنى اذا هذا القطاع هو اهم قطاع بالاردن، وكنا بنتغنى القطاع المدلل والقطاع المهم، الله يعين قطاع الزراعه اذا عمل مؤتمر يوم من الايام، مش عارف مين بده يحضر يعني. فيعني بدي اشكركم جميعا لحضوركم، وانا في النهايه كمان بدي اشكر السبونسرز وعلى راسهم شركات الاتصالات زين وامنيه واورنج. بصراحه مش بس هذا المؤتمر ولا هذا المنتدى، دعمهم في برشلونه ودعم للستارت ابس، دعمهم بكل الايفنتس اللي بنعملها، ما عمرهم ترددوا ابدا انهم يدعموا انتاج بكل الايفنتس اللي بتعملها. اليوم كثير ناس بيسالوني انه هل بتقدر شركه انتاج تساعدنا؟ احنا يا جماعه مش شركه، احنا جمعيه يعني غير ربحيه، وبنحاول قدر المستطاع نكون موجودين مع قطاعنا ونحاول نخدمهم. وهذا المستوى اللي اليوم وصل له القطاع الخاص بورجينا للاسف جاب كثير كبيره ما بين القطاع الخاص وتفكيرهم مع القطاع العام. بعد شركات الاتصالات طبعا بدي اشكر شركات اوبتمايزا، الملكيه الاردنيه، وكينج حسين بزنس بارك اللي دائما ما ببخل علينا بهذا المكان الجميل اللي دائما احنا موجودين فيه وبنعمل كل هاي المؤتمرات. شكرا لكم، وبنعتذر انه دائما اخذناكم اليوم العائلات في العطله، وشكرا جزيلا، ونلتقي دائما على خير بعد سنتين.